Welcome to Gefet Gemara. I'm Yael Shimoni, bringing to you together with Yeshivat Drisha and Adran, learning Iyun in your bekiut daf yomi. And I think this Gefet is very important because you're reaching the end of Batra, and I'm sure you feel that these pages are full of a lot of heavy, complicated, interesting stuff. We're going to take a fragment of what you're going to meet in the daf that's approaching and open it up and show you a very interesting reading. The Rashbam here, even though it's a daf that there's no Tosafot, there's a very important Rashbam here that is talking with the Tosafot in Ketubos. So we'll be learning the Rashbam and we'll be learning a whole idea of kiyum shtarot. Let's just open up to talk what is kiyum shtarot. Kiyum shtarot means that you're verifying a note. If I'm lending you money or you're lending me money and it's a big sum, we're going to want to write up a note. But how does the court know that this note is really real? Maybe one of us just took a piece of paper and invented it, and it's a total lie. That's why usually we expect that notes should be verified. And some notes actually need to be verified by a lawyer or by even by the court itself in order to make sure that if you come and show this note to somebody else in the future, it will be validated. What's interesting is that the sugya will claim that from the Torah, there was never a need to validate notes, that notes without validation, according to the Torah, were acceptable. And Chachamim are the ones who said that their note should be validated, that a shtar should be validated. So, of course, it's very interesting to see why did the Torah think that these notes should be validated in the first place? And what did Chachamim do? Why did they change their mind? And as we will see, it's a machloket, and the sides are hard to understand. One side is easier to understand, the other side is very, very hard to understand. And the Rashbam, B'ezrat Hashem, will help us find meaning in this machloket in kiyum shtarot. So I hope I opened your ears now to what we're doing, because we're doing heavy Iyun and it's heavy dubbing. But B'ezrat Hashem, I hope it will be clear, relatively short, and you'll have something to hold on to in this pretty difficult page. So let's begin to see, where does this come about in these pages? What's the context? So the Gemara at the end of Daf Kuf Samech Tet Amud Bet brings a brisa, which is very unclear, and the entire Daf in Kuf Ayin is trying to understand how to read that brisa. What's written there? Tanu Rabbanan, Rabba nidon b'shtar ובחזקה, nidon b'shtar, divrei Rebbe, Rashbam gomer b'chazaka. So we have a machloket here. The Rashbam explains the machloket in a situation that somebody is disputing over land. Okay, the land was mine, but I wasn't sitting in the land for a while. And then you come in and say, this land is mine. I've been sitting in this land for 3 years, and I also have a note to prove that you sold it to me. And Rebbe thinks that if you have a note and you have also a claim of sitting in the ground, we're not interested in the fact that you sat in the ground. We're interested in the fact that you have a note. The note is stronger than the fact that you were actually sitting there, because even if you were sitting there, who knows if you were sitting there rightfully? Maybe you were just a goslin. If you have a note, that's important. So that's why when you have these two claims in court, we in Beis Din, we take the shtar, we don't take the chazak. So we understand Rebbe. Rebbe makes sense. Rashbam omer chazaka. Rashbam thinks that the note is not good, and we will avoid it. We won't even listen to it. We'll just go look at the fact that you were sitting in the land for so long. And the question is, why? Why does Rashbam prefer reality to the note? So the Rashbam explains here, as you will see, the next daf is trying to understand why is there such a big machloket between these two, between Rabbi and Rashbam. There are different explanations in the daf, and also the explanations also change in understanding what's written in the brisa. We explain the brisa now that Rashbam thinks that we ignore the note and we work only with the fact that you were sitting in the land. But the Rashbam says, you will see that some of the Parshanim and maybe some of the Amoraim understood that Rashbam thinks that you can take the note and the fact that you were sitting in the land. Okay, so that's just to give you a hand in the daf that we're approaching. But as I said, we're only going to learn one of the ibayot in the Gemara. Again, the Gemara is offering an explanation. What is the machloket? Why does Rashbam prefer sitting in the land to using the note that you brought in two base. So the Gemara says, "V'bait ema." Maybe we'll understand the machloket. במודה בשטר שכתבו צריך לקיימו כמפלגי. רבי סבר, מודה בשטר שכתבו אין צריך לקיימו, ורבי שמעון בן גמליאל סבר צריך לקיימו. So the Gemara says, maybe the note that was discussed is a note that has not been validated. And the machloket between Rebbe and Rashbam is that Rebbe thinks that an unvalidated note is actually strong. And Rashbam thinks that an unvalidated note is nothing. And maybe that's their machloket. Okay, so that's the offering of the Gemara. But the Gemara here says that this is a machloket in modeh b'shtar shekatbo tzarich lekaymo. It's a specific situation. What is it referring to? Where is it taking this machloket from? Because as we see, this whole daf takes machlokot from other places in Shas and is saying maybe Rabbi and Rashbam are disputing in that same machloket. So what is this original machloket? This original machloket is in many places in Shas, and one of these places it's in Ketubos. So let's look at that place because that will be another stand where we'll hold. We're going to read that Gemara and this Gemara. So in Ketubot, there's a machloket Amoraim. Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav, מודה בשטר שכתבו אין צריך לקיים. Rav says, and Rav Huna quotes him, and Rav is the first one. He's a very prominent figure, old figure, and he says that if you came to court with a note saying that I owe you money, even if the note is not validated, if I said that indeed I did write the note does not need validation. The fact that I admitted that the note has been written by me is enough to have it strong. And even if I will claim something else about it, but won't listen to me, will listen to the notes. But Rav Nachman is cholek. Amar Rav Nachman, כתוב ויגן ואילך, הסבירה לך כרבי מאיר אימך, כרבי מאיר. אמר לי, ומר איך הסבירה לי? אמר לי, קריאתו לקמה לדינה, אמרו לו, זינו קי מושתרייכו וחוטו לדינה. Okay, so Rav Nachman is a little hard to understand, but Rashi here helps us explain that Rav Nachman is disputing on Rav, even though Rav was much older than him, and he's the first Amorah. So Rav Nachman is a big Amorah in Dinei, and halachically we are pasking according to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says that the fact that I admitted the note was written by me doesn't mean it's validated. And if I want to take this note into account, the Beit Din, it has to be validated. That's why Rav Nachman says, anyone who comes to court and has a note, I check. If it's not validated, I tell them, listen, guys, this is nothing in court. You want me to use this? No, go validate it. Okay, what is the validation? How does it work? What's this machloket? So let's zoom in and learn a little more about this original machloket of Rav and Rav Nachman, which is the machloket that the Gemara here is suggesting is the machloket of Rebbe and Rashbam. Okay, so I drew a malva and a lovet. For you, we have the yellow. He's the malva. He's happy. He's big. He has money. The lovet, small, red, without money, and he's asking for a loan. Okay, let's call the malva Reuven and the one who's lending. The Love, let's call him Shimon. Okay, so Shimon is asking Reuven, can you please give me $1 million? And Reuven says, sure, but let's write a note. So Reuven gives Shimon the money, and Shimon gives Reuven the note that says, Shimon owes Reuven $1 million, signed David and Michael. Okay, that's the note. But this note has not been validated. Then time passes, and Reuven wants the money back. Shimon is not paying it. Reuven goes to court and says, hey, Shimon did not pay me, did not pay back the loan. Here is the note. And then Shimon says, wait, yeah, sure, I borrowed the money, and I gave you the star, but I paid you back. So I don't owe you anything. It's true, the star is true, but all the star is telling is the fact that we made the original loan. It doesn't say anything about the fact that I paid you back, and I did pay you. And Reuven says, wait, it's true that the star doesn't say anything, but the fact that the star is still in my hand, that in itself proves that you've never paid me back. Because if you would have paid me back, I would have given you the star. You would not have left the star, the note, in my hands if you were actually paying back $1 million. So now you're the court, and you have to decide, who do you believe? Do you believe who has a note that's not validated, or do you believe Shimon that he did pay back, just didn't take the note back? So how to look at this case? First of all, let's understand, how does a validated star look like? Okay, a verified star is a star that Shimon cannot claim that it's fake. Why? Because it's written down in there. Shimon owes Reuven $1 million. David aid, Michael aid, and then you have another line by a lawyer or by court saying, these two people, David and Michael, came to us and proved that these signatures are theirs, and therefore this star is verified. This is a very strong star. This star, verified star, Shimon can never claim, oh, it was fake. Why? Because the court checked it, and the fact that it was verified is preventing any claim of fakeness to be said about the star. But if the star is not validated, nobody knows, is this a real star or fake? Maybe he made it up. Maybe he faked the signatures. Nobody ever checked. Nobody ever called David and Michael to prove that they broke the star. So this is a star that if somebody will say, hey, this star is fake, that will really raise a question. Is this a real star or a fake star? Why? Again, because it's just a piece of paper. There's nothing here to prove that this indeed is real. So that's a big difference between a verified star and a validated star, verified and an unverified star. And we're talking about this kind of star, a star that if somebody will say, maybe it's fake, it will cause us to question its validation. Okay, so again, the machloket between Rav Nachman and Rav. Rav says, if Shimon said, hey, listen, I repaid you, if the star is not validated, we don't believe him, even if he said that he repaid, because the star is still there. It means that according to Rav, even an unvalidated star, as far as the court is concerned, is very strong. Rav Nachman says, excuse me, this is an unverified star. So therefore, if Shimon explained and said that it's not real, we believe it. And when he says that he paid back, actually, it's a way of saying, I don't care if the star is there. The truth is that I paid back the loan. Who makes more sense, Rav Nachman or Rav? So according to the rules of Migo, which we've learned before, Rav Nachman makes much more sense than Rav. I want to explain this. Even if we'll see, halacha has been pasking according to Rav Nachman, and the reason for that is the din of Migo. What does the Migo say? Migo says that when I say something in court, we always have to check what were my other options. And if we'll look at the situation, Shimon said, listen, the star is not fake, but I did pay back the money. But what we have to understand is if Shimon would have chosen to say that the star is fake, he would have destroyed the star. Why? Because the star is not validated. So the real story here is Reuven brought a piece of paper that is actually meaningless to court. When Shimon said that the star is real, he actually was the one who validated it, because before he said anything, it could have been just a piece of paper. Why would we believe it? So the only reason that we believe this piece of paper is because of Shimon's statement that it was really written by him. But here we have a law, which makes a lot of sense, that a person who gave the power to something also has the power to destroy it. So Shimon is the one who gave the power to this piece of paper, and therefore he also has the power to claim that it's worthless, that he actually paid Reuven back. And this is what the Shulchan Aruch is pasking, and he's pasking Rav Nachman for halacha, and he explains this in his Pesach. Hamotzi shtar chaveiro. Reuven brings shtar chov to court. כל זמן שלא נתקיים, if this is not validated, יכול הלווה לומר, מזויף, ומעולם לא ציוויתי לכתוב. שמעון can say, this is fake. ואפילו אם מודה ואומר אמת שאני ציוויתי לכותבו, אבל פרעתי, and even if he says, it's true, I wrote him, but I paid back, או אמנה, או כתבתי ללוות ועדיין לא לוויתי, הואיל ואם רצה אמר לא היו דברים מעולם, והלא מפיו נתקיים, הרי זה נאמן. Says the Shulchan Aruch, because Shimon is the one who gave the star its status, he also has the ability to destroy its status. And that's why even if he doesn't say that it's fake, even if he says that he just paid back, that's also something credible because he has more credibility than Reuven. Because he actually had the power to destroy the star, and he chose to say a harder story, and that's why we believe him. And this is a migo, and it's the strongest kind of migo. The one who created it is the one who can destroy it. And here Shimon is the one who gave this its power, and therefore he, in his own words, can also take the power away. So this is the psak, and Rav Nachman in many ways makes more sense. But the more sense that Rav Nachman makes, the harder it is to understand the other side. Why is Rav disagree? Why did Rav originally think differently, and why is there a machlokes? Rav Nachman makes so much sense. It's true. This piece of paper means nothing. The only one who gave it power is Shimon. Well, why does Rav think that this piece of paper is so strong? It's not validated. Maybe it's fake. Maybe it's not real. What does Rav think? So here in our sugya said that she thinks that the machloket between Rabbi and Rashbam is the same machloket between Rav and Rav Nachman. And therefore, Rabbi thinks like Rav, and Rashbam thinks like Rav Nachman. The sugya involves and flips it, but it doesn't really matter. We still have to understand, what did Rav think? And why does the Gemara think this is a good machloket? We understand Rav Nachman. It's very hard to understand Rav. Let's stress the point. Why is this so hard? According to Rav, if he admitted that he wrote it, it doesn't need any verification. But this star can be threatened by saying that it's not real. Where did that disappear to? Okay. Why is it so hard to understand, Rebbe or Rav? Those who think that this star does not need validation. According to Rebbe, the star stands up to the attack. This piece of paper that has no validation stands up to the attack. I paid you back. It's unclear why. After all, we don't know for sure that it's not forgery. We trust it only because of what the borrower said. After all, it's not verified. So the borrower was the one who said that it was real. The only who gave the power was the borrower. And now the borrower is saying it's meaningless because I paid you back. So this is not just a regular migo. It's a super migo, we call it. Can it be that Rebbe and Rav are cholik on this migo? That's very hard to say. The whole shas is full of this migo. This is something that is acceptable throughout. How can it be that Rav is cholik here? Very hard. Okay, so now we have open ears to understand the Rashbam. Just again to point out, we're not learning here what was been pasking for halacha. We're learning the other side. Why is this important? Because the machloket might actually give you ideas that we can use them later. And of course, we're not only learning what's halacha, but we're learning all sides of the machloket because each side has its own emes. And we want to understand what's the emes behind Rav and Rebbe. So Rashbam is a little long. Rashbam is usually longer than Rashi, and he has here three statements. The first statement, says Rashbam, it's not that Rebbe is cholik on this klal, this strong migo. No, he agrees this strong exists. This klal exists. He just thinks that this is not a good manifestation of this rule. Why? Why is this not a good migo? Continues Rashbam and says, שאפילו אם היה זה מערער ואומר לא כתבתי, לא היה לנו לחשוד את זה הלוקח בכך שלא נחשדו ישראל לעשות שטרות מזויפים. אוקיי. Why is this migo back? Again, we have Reuben, we have Shimon, we have the star. Shimon says, I borrowed and I paid you back. And Reuben says, excuse me, the star is still with me. Why do we believe Reuben? So Rashbam says, it's not amigo because we don't actually think that a Jew could forge a document. This is interesting. Rashbam is saying, even if Shimon would have said, this is forged, we wouldn't believe it. That's what it seems like here. We'll see in a minute that this is not exactly what Rashbam is saying. But at this point, Rashbam is saying, we don't really believe Jews forge papers or shtarot. This is an interesting thing. We trust Jews so much. It's very, very strange. The Radbaz on the Rambam says something similar, but says it a little differently. Says the Radbaz, מדאורייתא לא באים קיום. ודבר תימו, אם כן כל אדם שירצה יזייף ויחתום. ונראה לי שהתורה שמחה על שארית ישראל לא יעשו עוולה, ואחר כך ראו חכמים שנתערבו בגויים ולמדו מעשיהם ותקנו קיום שטרות. Radbaz says, it's not that now we don't believe that Jews can forge stuff. Jews forge papers. But midoraisa, we didn't think so. Originally, people were more tzaddikim. And when the Torah was written, any note, even if it wasn't verified, was valuable because we did not suspect Jews to forge it. But then, we became part of the world, we went to Galut, we learned from the Goyim to forge papers, and therefore Chachamim made a takana and changed the rules. This part of the Rashbam is interesting because really, we really, originally people were tzaddikim and then it changed, and this Zerach Chachamim is because of the change. If you're interested, you can write to me and I'll send you a shiur of Bet Ishat Rav Yaakov Fisher, Alav Shalom, passed away 2 years ago. Big Talmid Chacham. He reads this Rashbam, reads this Radbaz, and finds it very hard to understand them, and he offers a different explanation. He doesn't think that this situation, this description of Jews so righteous is what changed things about, and he has a different way of reading the Rashbam and the Radbaz. For us, this is enough to see that at least midiraisa, before the Takanot Chachamim, this note, even if it wasn't verified, according to the Rashbam, had validation. And the fact that the Torah gave it validation means that the claim that it's a forgery is not so strong. It's not a usual time. Continues the Rashbam and explains, אלא שהחמירו חכמים להצטרך קיום היכא דמאר הרי עליהם. Okay, here we have something very delicate in the Rashbam, because it seems as if the Rashbam is contradicting himself. According to the second statement, the Rashbam said, we don't believe that Jews actually forge. But according to the third statement, the Chachamim say that if you actually claim that it was forged, we do believe you. So what's happening here? We don't believe you? We do believe you? What is the Rashbam saying? How is he answering the question? So in order to understand the Rashbam more, let's take a step away and look at the Tosafot and Daf Yutet. The Tosafot is also bothered by the same problem, and he gives two answers. The first answer is not the Rashbam's answer. It will open our mind to a different answer. And the second one seems to be like the Rashbam. Okay, let's look at the first answer of Tosafot, Masechet Ketubot, Daf Yutet, Modeh B'Shtar. Says the Tosafot, V'im tomar, my ta'ama lo mehanu b'migo. Our question, why don't we trust Shimon? He could have said that it's forged, so he has a strong migo. Why doesn't he have the strength of migo, and therefore he can fight against the star? V'im tomar, my ta'ama lo mehanu b'migo. Dibai amam zuyach. If he wanted, he could have claimed that it was forgery. V'yesh lomar, answer, so Tosafot has a rule in Migo, some of the Ballet Tosafot think, that in order to have amigo, you have to have the other option, the other statement that you chose not to say, something real and something that is easy to say. And this is what says to stand in front of somebody and say, you're forging this note calls for a lot of guts. Why? Because if Shimon will stand and say to Reuben, this is a forgery in Basi, Reuben can say, oh, wait, give me a day and I'll bring Michael and David and you'll see that I'm right. And that's why the claim, forgery, is a hard claim to say in Beit Din. Psychologically, it's hard. And maybe Shimon chose not to say it because he was afraid to confront Reuben. He was afraid to be confronted with David and Michael. So maybe he chose the easy way, and that's why he's saying he's paying back, not because his statement is actually clear or real. So this is Tosafot's doctrine of Migo de Ha'aza. Migo de Ha'aza lo amrina. If the other option is an option that calls for extra guts psychologically, therefore it cannot be used. So this is what Tosafot is saying in his first answer, but then Tosafot continues to a second answer, and the reason that that answer is what's relevant to the Rashbam is because the Rashbam didn't say anything about Migo de Azai, didn't say any psychological claim. We have here an answer in the Tosafot that is not Rashbam's answer. So what is Rashbam saying? Okay, so let's move to the second answer in the Tosafot. הוא פירש הקונטרסט במקום אחר, לטעמה. משום דבר תורה אין צריך קיום. דעדים החתומים על השטר נעשה כמי שנחקרה עדותם בבית דין, ורבנן עוד יצרכו קיום, כי תעין מזוין. אבל בשאר טענות כגון פרעה לא יצרכו קיום, וכן נראה לרי. So the Tosafot gives another answer, and it's Ri's answer, and this answer sounds much more like the Rashbam. What is Ri saying? You have to understand, the Takana of Chachamim is not that we actually take into the consideration that this star is fake. We only listen to this taina if it's claimed, if it's stated in Beit Din, and that is an option, and that's the takana of Chacham. But the Ri doesn't explain why. And let's go back to Rashbam and say maybe now he can help us understand the second answer of the Tosafot. So the Rashbam, again, I'm reading him, the third passage of the statement. אלא שהחמירו חכמים להצריך סיום מלכה שמערערי עליהם. לכך כי אמר כתבתיו נהמנה למי שהשטר בידו. How do we understand this? So here I want to give you some of the Torah that I heard from Rav Moshe Lichtenstein in Har Zion. He created this statement that I will use now. He says that the Takana of Chachamim, that you have to validate a star, is not koach ha'te'ana, it's koach ha'tze'aka. It's not because originally the Torah thought that we're not listening to the taina of forgery, and Chachamim said, oh, now people are forging, we're listening to it. No, we're still not really believing somebody who says that a written note is forgery. When we have a written note, that's hard forgery, and it's much harder to claim that it's forgery. We don't really believe that statement. So why do we listen to it? Why did Chachamim say if somebody is saying this is forgery, we say stop everything, go prove that this is real? Why do we do that? Not because we really believe that it's forgery, but it's because it looks bad. If somebody is claiming this is forgery, it's very hard for banking to continue and take money out with that because it looks suspicious. Not really believe, but there's a slight smudge over this. So we want to clear the smudge. So this is the power to shout. If somebody's shouting, this is wrong, we don't believe it, but we listen to him. This is just a shouting. This is not a real taina. A taina is something that we believe. Shouting is something that we hear and we want to clear it up. The way maybe that will be easier to understand this idea is that there are two different roles for Beit Din. One is emes and one is shalom. According to the emes, we don't really believe the claim that this is forgery. But according to shalom, this doesn't sound good. So that's why we want to give the power for this shouting. We want to listen to it, but not in such a high volume. So it's not amigo It will only be relevant if it's actually shouted in faith. So let's sum up what we've seen. We had a hard time to understand Rav and Rebbe. And now we have two different answers, either the Tosafot's first answer or the second answer in the Tosafot, which is what the Rashbam said. Rav Nachman says, listen, forgery is a real taina. It's true that the Torah didn't believe it, but now things are changing and now we listen to it. But it seems that according to Rav, we don't really think that we changed something about the Torah. We still stand in the same place. We don't really believe forgery as a real statement that has a lot of effect. Just said it. But we listen to it. Why do we listen to it? Because it creates a smudge over the star. That's what Rashbam says. This is a very different idea of what the Chachamim do here. Chachamim don't only want basing to be true, they also want it to look well. And that's why we're stopping everything until the star cleared its name. But it's not that we were really, really thinking that this star is fake. And that is the difference between a taina and a tzaka. Okay, so we finished our Iyun today, and it was a little harder than usual, but these are hard dupping. I hope I did make some sense and gave you different ways to look at what is basing role and how the Chazal see it. Is it just emet? Maybe it's also shalom, which is the role of shalom is how I understood the Rashbam's understanding of Rav's theory that even if somebody says that he paid the money back, that will not mean that we won't take this note seriously. The note still stands. Only if he will claim in base that it is a fake, a fraud, only then we'll listen to him, and also we'll just give him the right to shout. Doesn't mean that we'll really believe what he's saying. So take care, and I hope you enjoy your finishing of Batra. Yishar koach to all of you who finished. And Bezrat Hashem, you'll meet Rabbanit Yael next week. Take care.